Hello, welcome, and as part of E3 this year, I thought I would give you my quick take on the publishers' presentations, and I'll start with the Ubisoft Forward presentation, which happened today, and I'll most likely do the Microsoft and Nintendo presentations, and for any of the other presentations, well, it really depends on if they have something interesting, and if I have something interesting to say about them. Now, I was in two minds doing these because it's not what I normally do on this channel, but as much as I love hardware, I really like playing games, and E3 is a pretty good time to talk about them, seeing as everyone can watch the same trailers and we can all talk about the same thing. Okay, so starting with the Ubisoft presentation, I have such a long laundry list of complaints, and maybe that's not what everybody wants to hear, but sometimes I just have to get stuff off my chest, so I'm gonna keep this video really short. I'll try to get under 5 minutes, and at the end I'll try to be a little bit more positive. So I watched this on demand, and Ubisoft had a 3-hour presentation with a 1-hour pre-show and a 1-hour post-show. Both parts which I skipped because it didn't look like they had anything interesting to say or any important announcements that they made. So I just watched the main part of the show, which was still way too long anyway. I think that was about an hour as well. And they could have made that half an hour if they really wanted to. And they showed off about 8 games, but a lot of it was just padding and the developers talking and not really that much gameplay footage shown. Now, another problem I have is the whole thing feels really forced and incredibly PR driven. Literally every presenter is telling you that it's the greatest thing of all time. And I just prefer something much less scripted. It's one thing to use a script like I'm doing now for clarity and getting points across, but it's another thing to just say the same things over and over again. It becomes very tiring because there's only a limit to the amount of times that something unprecedented is going to happen, and it's going to be the most dangerous mission your team has ever faced. I think we've all heard that before. Another problem that is related to the overproduced PR nature of these shows is the contradictory and conflicting messaging in these presentations. I'm not sure what the best term is for it, but I've just found it very hypocritical. Rainbow Six, the first game they showed, for example, immediately showed an Asian female as one of the characters, and look, I'm all for diversity in gaming, but it just feels forced and ungenuine, especially amongst all of the glorified violence. Like, you're trying to normalize the glorified violence, but tell me it's perfectly fine because you can now play as an Asian female. I think there's a difference between representation for all in games and being inclusive of everyone and having that be the de facto standard. And just playing the here's an Asian female in a military shooter card doesn't really work for me. Pretty much every game started with a non-gameplay trailer, and these companies just refuse to go straight into their gameplay. Like, they know it's not a good first impression. And trailers for me now are just so boring because they have the same beats in the storytelling and they use the same style of slow motion, and we've seen it all before. And maybe Ubisoft have to do that because their gameplay is so bland and uninteresting anyway. They have to show you the story. Like, even Far Cry 6 showed off cutscenes from the game rather than actual gameplay, which makes me really wonder how far along in development that game is. So Ubisoft, they showed off 8 games today, and the first game they showed off was Rainbow Six Extraction, which looks to be a co-op shooter with Halo-like enemy elements. Rocksmith Plus, a game where you can play and learn a real guitar. Riders Republic, which looks to be a mash of The Crew, which was the racing game with different vehicles, and Steep, which was a game where you had different mountain sports. Just Dance 2022, which I skipped that one because not my type of game really, no pun intended of course. Assassin's Creed Valhalla is getting some DLC updates. Far Cry 6, which is difficult to know what's going on there because they literally showed off nothing in the game except for a story cutscene. Mario and Rabbids, which I was grateful for because it looked enjoyable even though it's not really my type of game. And finally they showed off Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, something new, where the world did actually look like it was nicely replicated, but again, knowing Ubisoft, very open, very big open worlds, and not really that much to do in them. again, not really my type of game. I guess to sum up, the Ubisoft presentation was largely uninspired stuff. I'm not really asking for new IPs, I'm just asking for new ideas. And perhaps fans of these games will disagree with me and they want more of the same. Maybe Mario and Rabbids fans are happy to get a second game, and I don't want to begrudge them of that. So to end on a more positive note, Assassin's Creed Valhalla has once again a full discovery mode where you can explore the game world at your own pleasure. But they also stated you can experience life as an inhabitant of that world. That sounds really cool and something completely different to the rest of the games they showed. But I hope this new relaxed gameplay actually turns into something more. Maybe like a real role-playing online game where gamers can roleplay their character, though it looks like it's just single player at the moment. Okay, that's it for this one. If you like this video, make sure to click the like button and also subscribe to the channel. We're going to do more E3 takes, and I hope you enjoyed my take on the Ubisoft Forward presentation, and I'll see you guys in the next one.